Okay, so this is a video here. We're going to be factoring when a doesn't equal 1. So we already know how to factor, or we're working on it too, but like if it was x squared plus 5x plus 6, if it's when a is 1, it's a pretty straightforward. And again, 1 isn't written there. It's just implied. Then you're looking at two numbers that multiply to be 6, add to be 5. So it's x plus 2, x plus 3. That's when a does equal 1, right? Well, what if it doesn't equal 1? And so there's lots of different methods out there to factor this way. They're all sort of guess and check a little bit, or you can use a quadratic formula. There's tons of different ways. And whatever it is, the method that you end up using, we just need to be good at it. Okay, so that's all you have to worry about. Just be good at whatever you're going to do. And if you're a guess and checker, that's fine too. All right, so my first example here, I'm going to do this through 3 examples here. First example, x squared 11x plus 12. Okay, so we need some sort of a combination that you don't need to write this part down yet, or maybe you could, but we need some sort of a combination so that when I FOIL this out, I'm going to produce 2x squared and 12. Now, we can guess and check our way through this, because obviously if it's going to be 2x squared, the only way it's going to happen is if 2x and 1x, and then there's some multiple combination for 12. And so, like, it could be 2 and 6, 1 and 12, 3 and 4, all those possibilities in some sort of manipulation to get there. Personally, not a fan of guess and checking, but because especially if it doesn't factor, it's sort of really annoying. So I'm going to show you the grouping method. Kids seem to have a lot of great success. So the grouping method, you're going to multiply a and c together. All right, so this is your first step, and that's 24. So just like in the previous problem, when we needed two numbers multiplied to be 6, add to be 5, all right, we're in the same boat now. We need two numbers that multiply to be 24, but add to be 11. Okay, so that's 8 and 3. So we're going to break this up. This whole thing is going to be broken up. So it's going to be 2x squared plus 8x plus 3x plus 12. Now, I could have written 3x plus 8x. It doesn't matter. Either way works. So, again, what's happened is that this whole thing, 2x squared plus 11x plus 12, this 11x can be rewritten as 8x plus 3x. And we get those magic numbers, okay, by looking at a times c and find out two numbers that multiply to be 24, add to be 11. So the possibilities we had were 1 and 24, that didn't add to 11. We had 2 and 12, that doesn't add to 11. We had 3 and 8, that does add to 11, and 4 and 6. And so 3 and 8 is our combination. Now, once you have that, you're going to group it. All right, so factoring by grouping is we're going to take parentheses around the first two terms and the second two terms, and we're going to pull out what's in common. So I'm going to pull out the 2x. So that means I'm going to divide each of these by 2x. And that leaves me with x plus 4. What comes out of the 3x plus 12? Well, I can divide each of these by 3. So I can pull out a 3. And it leaves you with x plus 4. So if you pull out the greatest common factor, if you do it correctly, these two things will be identical. They have to be identical. If you do not get identical, then you've messed up somewhere. They have to be identical. So there's one more step now. Now, we went from 4 terms to 2 terms, because these are connected by multiplication. I'm going to pull out the x plus 4. So I've got the x plus 4 out in front. So it's out in front. And what's remaining is 2x plus 3, and 2x and a 2 plus 3. So that's 2x plus 3. Now notice, so this is the answer, right? But notice if I FOIL this out, I get 2x squared, 3x, and you don't need to FOIL it out, but plus 8x plus 12, which ends up being what we originally started, which was 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. Let's do another one. Okay, so another one here. So now this one's got a minus in it, so it's going to be a little bit different. But again, still the same process. A times c, which is negative 12. So I need two numbers that multiply to be negative 12, yet combined to be negative 11. So my possibilities are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. But it's negative 12. So one of them is positive, one's negative. So that's going to be this 1 and 12. So I've got 4x squared. Now I need it to be negative 11x, so that makes I'm going to go negative 12x plus 1x, because negative 12 plus 1 is negative 11. If I flip it around, make it 12 minus 1, and be positive 11, that wouldn't work. And And then I'm going to group. So group. So I can pull out a 4x. So divide each of these by 4x. Leaves me with x minus 3. This next one has nothing in common, so you can just pull out a 1. Okay. And now look at that. They are identical. They have to be identical again. So you pull that out. Cancel those out. And what's remaining is 4x plus 1. And that's what it factors to be. So if you know your multiplication facts, this is a very simple method. It's a very simple method if you know your multiplication facts. If you don't, it's going to be rough. But that is our factoring of that problem. Okay, so this one here, another different variation one. So a times c, so that's 30. All right, so two numbers multiplied to be 30 and add to be 17. Now it's positive 30, so that means it's the same sign, but it adds to be negative 17. So that means they both must be negative. And so, like you've got 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, and obviously it's 2 and 15 because 2 plus 15 is 17. Okay, so we got 6x squared, but it's negative 2x minus 15x because it's negative 2 and negative 15 to make that negative 17. And again, the reason why it's negative and negative is because I needed two numbers to multiply to be a positive, yet when they add, they became a negative. You have to understand the multiplication on that. Okay, now group. And so I'm going to pull out 2x because that goes into 6 and a 2 and the x. So I've got 2x. And that leaves me with 3x minus 1 because, again, divide by 2x. 2x divided by 2x is 1. Now, this one has a negative in front. So one thing that is, no matter what, if there's a negative in front of the term here, we're going to pull that out. We want a positive out in front of that. So this negative has got to come out. It's got to come out with it, okay? So I'm going to divide by, not just 5, I'm going to divide by negative 5 because of this negative. All right, so that's one trick to that. So I'll pull up the negative 5. And so negative divided by negative is a positive, and a positive divided by negative is, of course, a negative. And now that works out well because now they are the same. So I'm going to pull out the 3x minus 1. Oops. 3x minus 1. And it leaves me with 2x minus 5. And voila. All right, so again, it doesn't matter how you factor, as long as you can factor. If you want to be a guess and checker, if you want to use the box method, if you want to do the quadratic formula, they all work. I personally, doing this a long time now, I think this is probably the best method for us to make it easier on us. And it lends us to grouping cubics later on, so this is not a bad thing. All right.